Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Harry Potter and Magic Awakened. So we're back on the main menu. I exited it out, so we'll see where this ends up taking us. It took us 2 hours to get barely into Hogwarts, and all we did was play one tutorial, one little tutorial gameplay. So I will say at the main menu you do get this pop-up of notifications, but as soon as I clicked on it, it kind of went away. So anyways, we put on our Hufflepuff Hogwarts clothing, which really just nullifies that 2 hours of having casual dress outfits. Honestly, that obviously should have been a feature added later that we would have addressed. Like, what we're trying to get to here at the core of this is what kind of game this really is and what kind of experience this is. And if the first 2 hours is play dress up, create a custom character, and really only barely introduce the card-based, what seems like RPG combat, then they've really failed. Let's go ahead. This student was going to walk us to a classroom, I believe.
You don't want to be late for your first class.
We still have...
If we hurry, we can still make it on time.
Some awkward interfaces with WASD and a mouse cursor. Don't forget to change into your school robes. I already did that. So I guess maybe there would have been an actual requirement to do that. Tap to open your knapsack. You can now change your look at any time. Well, I had already done that, but I'm still being forced to do the tutorial. So, yeah. Let's just go through the whole process. Doesn't seem like anything matters there. So now we can go to the castle corridor, which is just another loading screen and another cutscene. So we have the shifting stairs.
These stairs are so dizzying.
And we still have the extremely long pause. What does she say she has in her hand? A sketchbook?
The charms classroom should be just up ahead.
So this character is named Lottie. Is this the painter we saw at Diagon Alley? I guess it probably is, but you've created this problem in that we saw all of those characters in their casual dress, and it's not like the character customization is actually that good that it really makes that much sense. Alright, now I think we must be in a real world with interacting with other students, because we are clipping through this character and they have a real Asian name to it. I want to be able to look and move the cameras. Let's see, was that Alt? No, Alt brought up the cursor. So we just have like a fixed window here. So what we're going to need to see here fairly quickly is that either we're going to need to be able to run around Hogwarts with some freedom eventually, or run around areas outside of Hogwarts with some freedom. Otherwise you're going to have just a lot of hallway sections that are going to be fairly boring. You've been hanging around here for a long while. Let me think. Is it past It is past curfew, right? I don't think so. How dare you talk back to me? I'm a former prefect. If I had the power to deduct points still, I would deduct 20 points from your house. Okay, and this is Cecil Shetland. Now go back to your dormitory, otherwise I will inform Mr. Flint. So, all the paintings are narcs, I guess. Man, as soon as I start talking, I'm coughing. I'm sorry about that. Are these people's getting their souls trapped in the paintings, or are these clones of people? But no longer do we have voice acting. And then it looks like there's either a flag or a piece of hair coming really out of this picture when the rest of it looks very 2D. And it's way too dark. Hello, I just have a question for you. Which frame offers the best view of the castle? I don't know. Well, I just arrived not long ago. I think securing a good position is very important. Grabbing a high spot, you know. Now, if you don't mind, I want to go exploring. So the paintings can move, apparently. And yeah, our character is, I think, very noticeably going to be encouraged to wander around a lot more than there is actual content. And then she's just going to have some default responses to most of the dialogue. Although I don't want to admit it, staying near the defense against the dark arts classroom scares me. This is like the same painting twice. Ferdinand de Gama this time. Well, the class teaches one to defend against the dark arts, not practice it, so it's less scary than I suppose. Oh, that sounds more reasonable. And it also makes me feel better, though still a bit strange. If anything, it feels like all the classrooms are going to be connected to these stairs, which, at least in the movie, it didn't really feel like the classrooms were directly connected to the stairs. It felt like the classrooms probably went up and down the stairs to different dormitories in what you would assume would have been the dormitory wing of a boarding school, and then everybody would have come towards more of a central hallway in a different wing of the school for branching off to either the lunchroom and breakfast room and the classes. And I'd almost assume that the classes are on the other side of the lunchroom than the dormitory is. At least that's how I would think you would lay out a school. Wow, student, tell me quickly, is Professor Bond still teaching the history of magic class? So, yeah, just default sound effects. To new students like you, this must be pretty bad news. I heard you can talk about history in a way that's even more boring than Chinanti. I don't know who that person is, though, so the reference there doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And much like Diagon Alley, it does seem like you can go further than you'd suspect, but you do eventually just hit invisible walls. That's too annoying. These new students are always chirping and discussing the Dueling Club. When I went to school, duels were prohibited within campus. In my opinion, this kind of rude behavior should be banned. There is a danger here that you start to have dungeons that are just 100% around the idea of this is like some kind of magic door. It seems like just wandering around stairs like this, and you can see a lot of repetition. Feels like this picture on the right may mean something. Yeah, it could be very, very annoying if you start to just see repetitive staircase after repetitive staircase, particularly if you start to introduce like random encounters with enemies inside of Hogwarts, and there's just like no floor at all, which I feel like that's not accurate. Well, even if we go through each of these doorways, that's limiting us to a fairly large amount of directions you can go. But there is more of Hogwarts, clearly, you would want to see. There's another thing we can interact with. Has the defensive against the dark arts class begun? You know, that was my best subject. If I remember correctly, I liked the section that started from page 394 the most. Is that some reference to something? I have no idea. And so there's a corridor here we can actually interact with. So it seems like we could go down the other way. Hello, have you met my father, Viola Frierson? I don't think so. I searched everywhere, but I still can't find him. Perhaps I should look around the basement. We don't even know what like real currency is in this game. I guess we're technically looking for cards, but here we have another corridor. I'd almost expect the corridors to potentially connect back to where we were. You can only walk up these pathways when they're locked. I'm stuck now. I cannot walk to the left. I'm gonna have to wait for it to come back and then walk up. Yeah. There we go. This almost feels like my small experience of playing. Oh, what's the name of the game with Mickey Mouse and Final Fantasy characters mixed together, with the Keyblade. Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, I spent maybe a couple hours playing Kingdom Hearts 1, and you were definitely left to just wander around an area, and at least in that game you'd wander around an area and you might walk over a blade of grass or something and get some kind of item. There's certainly just not enough happening to be able to wander around this much before you see another loading screen. Okay. Now we're back to our regular camera setting, and I assume, since I'm not seeing any names above heads, that this is not a shared area. And so yeah, I would just expect you could run back here and you would find some kind of item. Just anything. Some kind of currency. Which almost certainly there is some kind of currency in this game. We just have not gotten anywhere to it. Unless I've just completely misjudged what the game is. Alright, so Rosalind here seems like they are a real person. This character. There's a name. I can't interact with it. I'm clipping right through it. Noticeably, Rosalind is not in the school clothing either. And everybody else is. So it's not a soloed out region like I thought. It's just seems like there's nothing going to be here. It kind of feels like we're going to come in here once and then never enter this area again. Or we're going to, on the other hand, potentially be given really boring tasks to walk to this area and just get an item and deliver it to the teacher over and over again. It's going to heavily come down to if maybe there's a mini game this teacher, this charm teacher, is going to teach us, or if there's something you can grind in that mini game, or if it's a one-time learning activity and then you can't play it a second time, or playing it a second time doesn't matter. Emil there is also a new character.
Ah, there you are.
Now we're back to voice acting.
Class is about to begin.
Yes, Professor.
Yep, you constantly run into this problem with games where there is a high level of the important dialogue that's voiced, and then there's a low level of dialogue that's not voiced.
Is a very practical subject,
and
which you
it's
are
a shame
required
that
to
that's
take
still
until
the
your
case.
5th year. Once upon a time, a
You saw the
student
twins
named
over there
Ron
on the left.
Weasley, as you may have heard, beat an adult troll in his first year. And he did it with none other than this charm, protecting his friends Harry Potter and Hermione Granger in the process.
Now I can see in my character that her face skin tone is still too light. Defeat the full-grown troll. So we've got a ton of cards here that we didn't have before. And first day of school at Hogwarts, it seems like you're already sleeping and dreaming. Use Ventus to blow it away. Press 2 to select the card, then left click to cast it. Which, yeah.
Ventus.
The fact that you can drag is nice, but clearly they've designed this to use a keyboard when it really should be using a controller. And let me just look at my controller. Yeah. My controller is plugged in this time when I launched it. So if I was going to get like an Xbox 360 or Xbox Core controller buttons prompts, I would have. So now we're going to play this.
Monster book.
So yeah, it's not a terrible idea to relive the experience. I guess you'll have some kind of timer when you're not doing the tutorial. Having the experience of both being open to new experiences and potentially reliving some of the experiences of the actual Harry Potter books is a great idea. Something Hogwarts Legacy really can't do as a prequel. Of course, there is potentially a danger in that it would get repetitive or be poorly done always. One of the things too is in the first quick look of this, the first episode of this, I was calling this a NetEase game, and I still do really think anything that is being funded by NetEase probably has to be thought of as a NetEase game, but really the logo at the front is a Portkey game, and I don't know Portkey Games as a company, but it's probably somewhat fair to
Atmosphere charm.
to give due that's being claimed. Next card is shown here. So
Monster book.
So you throw the monster books to fight them, and then
Atmosphere charm.
you just try to do as much damage as possible.
Monster book.
At a certain level, I think you do
Atmosphere charm.
just have to keep it
Wingardium
far enough
Leviosa.
away. Now, which one of those was actually a charm, though? And I don't know if I really think I love that pose. That was a little cocky. As far as a pose, but yeah, eventually I think that kind of pose would feel more commonplace as we're winning game after game after game, assuming we are winning game after game. So we've unlocked a card called Spiders, but I'm still not really sure if we're obtaining them now. It seems like we are, though. We've finally seen gold as the currency, which I guess is a fine currency to use, but it seems fairly generic for the Harry Potter world. I would think maybe you would go with the magical jelly beans, or just magic itself as being a currency. We have Acromantula Venom, which 2 is a card. So it doesn't seem like so far we've seen anything that would be like a crafting recipe. I bet we don't have anything that's crafting. That would be a little silly. But you need something at some level. If they continue to support this game, which is an if, certainly, they would have to add more cards. And at a certain point, when you add enough cards, you are going to need to make an argument that there's got to be some way to craft more cards if you want those cards. Maybe you do that just directly with gold, and there's only one currency in the game. If that's the case, then this is a really good game for kids, even though it still has that one currency. But if they start to throw in 2 or 3 extra currencies, that's going to get very confusing and be a system designed for trickery. So we get a perfect score because we completed it at 100% and we cleared it within 210 seconds. So now we, all of a sudden, without really being warned of that, know that there are goals around time. So we're going to want to move faster. And so here we have a more flat animation style, which you could potentially have made a mobile game with just this animation style instead of going with the more 3D anime style. Particularly if on the mobile game, say they eliminated the wandering around the school. Right now that feels like that is very much extra stuff that's not necessary. You could have just shown me a cutscene. They would have jumped me directly to the classroom cutscene, and we could have then had the fight from that point. This is a common card, so we know if there are different varieties of cards that at the very least it will cost different amounts of gold to purchase more copies of the card, if you even need more copies of the card. Honestly, it feels like you may really only be allowed to have one card in your deck anyways, because it seems like they just kind of cycle around altogether. I played way more than 8 cards in that last fight, so obviously they respawned, and you don't discard cards, and you don't have like if you run out of cards you lose. Although maybe that stuff is all just going to be introduced later. Man, I've got quite the tickle in my throat. The troll itself also becomes a card. And yeah, I'm not even going to bother to scroll down and get the actual stats here. Weirdly, though, the range of the stats you're seeing here does really make it seem much more like you are collecting Pokemon, and the Pokemon are just being depicted as cards. Cards don't even really make sense. It would make a lot more sense if they were uh, paintings, but creatures don't jump out of paintings or aren't summoned out of paintings. So it would kind of make more sense if they were potions, summoning spells or potions. But then I guess you could certainly have just introduced the idea that this card concept is something brand new that was invented after the events of Harry Potter. But then they probably should have just mentioned that and said this is the brand new thing and everybody is super hyped around it. Where the card concept of gameplay is not really even being mentioned. So much so that I suspect that a significant portion of this game was developed around just making a Harry Potter game, and then it was a later decision, I won't say exactly the last second decision, to have the card element added. Not getting quite the amount of fanfare I'd like for unlocking new cards, but whatever. So it says tap. I assume this is space to continue, and that time it really forced me to do it. Press shift to sprint while moving. And so we now end up in a completely different area. We're in a castle corridor. And let's see. If I press shift and press W, and then I take shift off and walk forward, it seems about at the same speed. So here's the snotty girl.
That was impressive. You must have practiced a lot.
Not really. I'm just naturally talented.
Oh, I wish I was that good.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you'll get better. It's just a swish.
And a flick. That's right. I'll keep practicing.
If you're looking to practice, Dueling Club is the place to do it. You can join me if you like, if you're not afraid.
So the twins and
My
the
name is
snotty
Cassandra,
girl
by the way.
All right, I'll give it a try.
are all
Oh,
Slytherin.
wait. My name is... Oh, she's gone.
See, that could have been a funny running gag, certainly, is that she tries to introduce herself and everybody walks away. So yeah, this makes no sense at all. To have a cutscene in the corridor when we weren't in the corridor. And then we come back to these staircases, which really are not interesting once I've looked around them. And now we're being put to the next class. I assume this is tutorializing us to go to all the classes. The only thing that would kind of make sense, and this would just be repeating the events of, I think, one of the Harry Potter books. Like Tom Riddle, I think, in which a student is blacking out and doing things that he doesn't realize he's doing. Our protagonist character that we're playing as might be blacking out, and that's why we're appearing in one place versus another. Of course, that would be very weird if all of a sudden we turned out that we were the big bad guy. For a game that's going to have to go on forever if it's going to succeed, you can't really have an established bad guy that's that prominent. Like, you kind of have to either have a bad guy that's just undefeatable, or you have to have a bad guy that is just not really that bad. Cassandra very well could just be that bad guy, that antagonist, friendly rival throughout the entire story, and we may never have anybody else that poses any real threat. This may totally be a game where you just have a very safe experience, for lack of a better term, at Hogwarts, unlike Harry Potter.
Nervous? You seem barely able to hold on to your wand.
So it seems also that we're going to the Dueling Club
Might
now.
want to refresh your
That
memory on whatever spells
we may
you know.
very well... They may be pushing back from the card gameplay mechanic, and they may try to have us do a completely different style of encounter. This is your currently equipped deck. Yeah. Seems like certain cards have different levels, and we have a level 6 purple here that seems like that is probably designed to be a extra benefit for us so we always win, where we've just unlocked these other cards at the standard point. I'm gonna have to pause my recording for a second. You know what? I'm just gonna mute the audio, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, yeah, these are all the cards that we've just unlocked, and by the looks of it, it seems like your deck really can only have 8 cards, which would then severely limit the amount of cards that would potentially ever be available compared to, say, making a 60 card deck in Magic the Gathering or 45 card deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Those numbers are probably somewhat wrong, but yeah, 45 to 60 cards is about average in your usual collectible card game. So what I imagine you'll have is cards that just evolve up, and in the level 2 the visuals will look different and it'll do more damage, and you do have this weird RPG elements of having health and attack and exploration attributes and the spellbook level that all point to a very different type of game. If anything, it kind of feels like they're trying to do something closer to Marvel Snap, in that Marvel Snap has very few cards and your deck only really has like 6 or 7 spots. Although Marvel Snap plays in a very different way, not particularly a way I like, but it is admittedly very groundbreaking. Tap here to configure. Oh man. This is the deck used in battle. Here are the spells that you've already learnt. Drag them into your deck. So, weirdly, that last battle we fought, we shouldn't have had this card. And yet we did. And here's another purple card. And there. You built your first deck. Now maybe this will become a case where you're swapping out decks quite a bit, but there doesn't seem like there's really any strategies here either. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a fire, earth, wind, and water balancing system. And usually in most CCGs it would be fire, earth, wind, water, and light and darkness at the very minimum, as far as having vulnerabilities to certain elements.
Ready, are we? Fine. Come with me.
Immediately you're getting your experience ruined fairly poorly by having other people stand and wave at you.
When you lose.
Like, this is a non-player, this is a player character. And he seemingly is trying to communicate with me, but I don't even know how to do that. Let's see. Yeah, I can click on this character, but I don't see an interaction button prompt or anything like that. There's no right-click option. So, I just don't think they've set up me at this point to be able to do that. Dueling Club with a odd Asian bow, which, I mean, I guess maybe there's some bowing that happens in like medieval times. It would also make some sense, but I don't think people about to duel ever bowed in the West. You're also getting into this problem where you see what seems like the same characters far too much. So I guess the option here is that we could click this, and then that would change our deck. I'm still not really sure what a charm it is or what it does. I thought we were supposed to learn that, but seems like we didn't. And see what they've done in the background there with the dueling kits is they've made all of the hair colors, for the most part, black and brown, so it seems a lot more mundane. And this guy has decided to run forward as you had your back turned. Although summoning the troll requires a high number of magic points, it has a lot of health and can withstand a lot of damage on the front line. Press 1 to select the card and then left click to cast it. Now weirdly it's telling me to put it here, which I guess this is saying we can't summon it any closer. And so then that's exhausted our wand spells. Your opponents summon a swarm of spotters. The troll can only attack one unit at a time and will be quickly overrun. Try countering with the Acromantella Venom. Press 4 and select it. Do I really need the tutorial that often?
Acromantula Venom.
This time your opponent released a troll. Let's give them a taste of their own medicine. Use spiders to deal with the troll. So, I don't know if a tutorial challenge should really be this this tit for tat. Seems like we could cast other spells at this point. Is the game just leaving me to do whatever I want? Yeah, it seemed like it just very much stopped at that point. So, the shy boy is in Gryffindor.
But perhaps you'd like a real challenge. Say,
so
against
Ivy is
Bishop
missing.
here and myself.
2 against 1? How is that fair?
Interesting, it seems like the pause is slightly shorter.
She means a duo duel. 2 against 2. But you'll need a partner.
Kevin? Is this Kevin that's speaking?
No problem. Let's do this.
Apparently, no, Kevin was not on the screen when he was talking, and Robin is my partner. Robin, maybe the artist girl? Like, immediately, I didn't memorize the faces of these characters. That was the move. And what are these little emoticons all about? Let's not play anything big if it's not going to affect things. Immediately, this also just feels like this is going to just turned into a real mess. Like, yeah, that definitely doesn't feel like strategy as much as it is just throwing things at the enemy. Great teamwork, Robin and Rydo. Yeah. I don't know what the big snake around the border was about. I assume that was some kind of ultimate attack that didn't kick in fast enough. And here you can see this character is exactly the same as this character. And then this character to the right is actually this character. And this character here doesn't seem to be repeated as much over here, but almost certainly they are repeated. This character is the same as this character. The hands up in the air, waving, is a very generic animation that they're doing in the foreground to save on animation. And then you have a lot of other characters that are just kind of wobbling back and forth. There's a big disconnect here in that either you needed to tag this character as being an excited character and only spawn in one of those characters at once, or have their animations several minutes apart on a cooldown so they're not looping at the exact same time, all of which takes more video RAM and memory, or just not have these characters at all, because clearly these actions and moves are way too animated. Whereas it would make a lot more sense to just have this guy be very animated, or these guys be very animated, instead of random background characters be so animated. So I was wrong. We didn't create a new duel system, per se. They only shifted things slightly from fighting a troll to fighting against other people who could also summon things. But it does definitely seem like this card game mechanic is what it seems like it's going to be. And so you may have a problem that we run into in that we'll exhaust all the story content fairly early, and then you're waiting for the next update. And there's just not really a lot of reason to play, or there's going to be a heavy push to play online against other players, and I've yet to see anything in this card system that really makes me want to play against other players online. Overall, this seems far too simplistic, even for a kid game.
Well, you're not as hopeless as you look. What was your name again?
It's the same animations in the background.
After charms. My name is...
Right. I remember. You asked me about levitation charms. It would seem that you know more than you let on. Still, defeating a fray is nothing to get excited about. When you've improved, I'll duel you again, if you're up for it.
I'd like that. I mean, I look forward to it. And I'll be ready, I promise.
You can see our character has fairly limited animation in that she's just kind of awkwardly waving. And then she has this really cocky posing system at the victory, which just does not fall in line with the voice lines that are acted. I assume if I picked a male character, they'd be saying pretty much exactly the same thing. It'd be very weird if picking a male wizard character would have had the character be a lot more cocky. So we've got 100 gold. There might straight up be daily limits on how much gold you can earn. 100 out of 1500? 10 gems, so we do have a second currency, and then a silver key delightful drop. 1 out of 3, which sounds like a third currency too. By participating in the Duelling Club daily, you have a chance to trigger delightful drops and get silver keys or golden keys at random max 3 times each day. And each day you can only get 1500 gold. So yeah, it does seem like this game is designed to limit how much you can really do per day, because there's not enough content in it. And they're going to constantly have that problem of making a Harry Potter game where people may want to play a lot more than what is really available. And then we had a loading section that showed us Harry Potter and such. Alright, now I'm looking at a TV from 8 feet away, so this text is pretty hard to read. Witches and wizards can challenge one another in a real-time duels in the Dueling Club. Duels can occur between 2 participants, solo duels, or 2 teams, duo duels. Alright. That's top wizard. What does this say? Best partners. Now, see, and this is just pretty much a pop-up window. Like, and there are major problems, I will say, with this interface. In that it is just a window, like a Windows window, instead of being a full screen app. It seems to hook into everything you type on the keyboard, and so hotkeys I use to start and record via OBS are not working, which, I mean, that doesn't inherently mean there's a keylogger going on, but it does show a lack of kind of standard programming. It's in its own launcher. Let's see. So I guess what I'm supposed to be doing here is reading this text here. To emerge victorious in the duel, you must deplete the health bars of all opposing duelists. To emerge victorious in a duel, you must deplete the health bars of all who are victorious. Your duel tier is determined by your performance in duels. Winning a duel grants you duel score, accumulating which can unlock higher tiers. Upon reaching Grandmaster tier and certain duel score milestones, accomplished duelists will be invited to our exciting global duel. As the name suggests, global duels allow you to participants to compete against players worldwide for a place in the world leaderboards, which basically that means top 10,000 players at most have to deal with global duel. Everybody else is left to probably never encounter or engage with that. And so we are just in a completely different section now. And see, this is really what I kind of expected we would see. Is get rid of the overworld, get rid of walking around, start us very quickly at this. This could have been the first scene 3 hours ago into my gameplay. We could have just started here. We could have done a tutorial duel this way. Then we could have gone to flashback and gone to Diagon Alley and played the dress up if we wanted to. Also, that could have just been a side thing that happens after your first tutorial duel. The whole sorting hat and things like that could have, I mean, it wouldn't have made the most sense if you were wearing your school outfits. But yeah, you really would have wanted people to jump quickly into this game. A lot quicker than that. 460 for 46 day, 1 hour for a top duel, I guess. Check out the shop page, it says. So here's the owl we looked at before. And the world seems to have changed from Sphinx to now Tilmarand. So only now does it seem like it's potentially put us in a different location. There is a whole house here of Hufflepuff that has its own separate chat. There's a whole world chat, house chat, no nearby chat. They don't want to do nearby chat because they mean physically nearby you, not characters in the game being nearby you. Social club, club assist, and house co-op. Welcome to Harry Potter Magic Awakened. Your magical journey starts here. That's a system-wide notice. And what's funny is this feels just like a completely different notice system than what pops up when you first launch the game. So why have two different notice systems? Private chat, friends. You can have 150 friends. Official accounts. What does that lead to? There's a Gossamer. I don't know what that is, but I almost feel like that is a default friend character. Or if this is just the official account for the makers of this game. And then, let's see. These, I guess, are just statistics. So I think we have seen one part of the game. There's also going to be a classroom part, and then there's a dance club, which I don't know if that's going to be played with maybe a different style of cards completely. And then there's Quidditch practice, which maybe that's played with a different style. And then Forbidden Forest, I assume, are probably going to be quest-like areas. Unclaimed sign-in rewards. We'll go and claim them. And that gives us a golden key. PC exclusive rewards. That gives us 100 gems. Now you expect that they'll be fairly generous at the beginning here, but then a lot of games dry up and stop giving you rewards. Again, just a completely different notification system. That doesn't really seem like too much rewards here. The biggest one that I saw they were giving away was this pre-registration award. Epic cards, 150 gems, 4,500 gold, which we may burn through gold. Niffler as a card, and the Nimbus 2000, which adds 30 to your collection. This is the real reason why you would jump early into a game. Okay. Broomstick number 2. See, that jumped us back to the Diagon Alley store.
Oh.
Baby manticores. By giving random cards, then you'll have different people potentially playing different cards. So the duels don't get very boring as everybody throws the same trolls over and over again at each other. Now what's weird about this is it doesn't really show how much magic each one of these cost. So I'd have to look at a different interface to try and figure out if I wanted to replace my default troll with like this troll card. And then a lot of these rewards are don't have any real animation around them. Okay. So we're still supposed to check out the shop, but let's look at this since this says new. We have new companions, which I have no idea what a companion even is, but let's throw it in there. And then we have a level 3 that has a 59 health and a damage of 4 versus a level 3 of 28 health and damage of 14. Seems like that does a lot less damage. This one seems like this would just get me gold coins. So what would we want to lose? I think it probably makes sense to play that. And then 170 health, damage 8, 59 health, damage 3. I think the smart move is probably to replace the spiders, but I'm going to choose that instead. Let's see, charms. I don't know why it's marking these as new. And I guess at a certain level, we now know what charms are. Charms are the cards. So, it would be nice if they had explained that more directly. So over here is titles and things we can highlight, but clearly they want to push you into the shop. So let's see how greedy they are. Okay. Before we spend anything, we want to make sure we look at everything. So they started on magical studies. Let's go up here. Monthly card. Lasts 30 days and grants 3,000 gems. So we do have a premium currency on top of a premium currency on top of the standard currency, which that highlights a major problem. And it seems to me like if you were to purchase this for $5, you only actually get 80 daily rewards for this gems versus jewels, and to get the 2,400 daily rewards you have to potentially log in or do something else, even more than logging in to get this currency. So you have a monthly purchase, then with the premium jewels currency you can purchase booster packs and some other booster packs of different prices. What's the difference here? 60 gold. They all seem like they offer a key and gold. This one offers a gold key, a silver key, and gold. But it doesn't really seem like there's a difference here. And maybe it's a case that you can buy this. Nope. I don't really get this. We could use gems to buy this. More silver keys. But you're buying currency when you're buying keys for opening something else. So they're trying to obfuscate and confuse you quite a bit, with real world money being somehow converted to jewels, then jewels being somehow converted to silver and gold keys, and then silver and gold keys being translated into cards. Apparently you get a guaranteed card at 30 draws on basic study, and a guaranteed card on 20 draws on advanced studies here. Which that sounds awful. That sounds incredibly awful. Even if you are just going to basically do daily quests and get a ridiculous amount of keys, just the practical aspect of potentially opening 30 draws and getting only one card is ridiculous. Your obtain rates here look pretty low, and seems like there's only epic cards that they're willing to show. And when I'm scrolling up and down on the mouse cursor, it's actually just scrolling up and down what turns out to be a long page here. The obtain rates on this is higher, but not by much. You're at 0.147%. So just round down to 0.1%. Now maybe you get other cards, and these are just the mythic and legendary and mythic and dark cards. I wouldn't have even thought I was going to get dark cards. And then you have a fairly basic concept here, and they want you to check out the store so they can advertise to you and convince you to potentially purchase something. So they're going to have a free item. So in that free item, we've gotten Cornish Pixies. Remember now, we're at like 12 of 75 cards, it looks like. So unless there's just a lot more cards than 75, and that's interesting, the animation here is doing a swipe. I wonder if I can click on the pixie. Nope. So it might be that we get 75 cards and that just upgrades our spell book. We could get Daniel Page as a card with the currency. And we could use the gold here. I don't know what an echo crystal is for. Increases the effects of your echoes. What's an echo? Echo of Bellatrix Lestrange, Echo of Silver Snap, Echo of Hermione Granger. Alright, let's get the real value here. Then that they really want you to spend for jewels. 99 cents gets you 60 jewels. $5 gets you 300. $10 gets you slightly more, it claims, 124% more at 1300. And then you only get 115% more value for $15. Which, first time purchase, I guess you would want to buy that. I guess you probably don't get a benefit after that. Of course, what's not really being explained here. First purchase bonus. For any purchase above 300 jewels, you will receive a significant amount of bonus jewels for the first time you make that purchase. Each subsequent purchase of that price point will only contain a small amount of bonus jewels. Bonus jewels are already included in the total show. Man, I apologize. So yeah, you could purchase this first, and that's why this is the best bonus, because they want to get you on the hook for $10, and then you could purchase this, and then you could purchase this. Although I don't know why they're making a big difference. Yeah, it should really just be 115, 114, 113, 112, 111, like that, instead of going up then going down. What it seems like might be the case is that if you only get a bonus for your first purchase in total, then it would make sense somewhat to buy $99, $100 worth of things, so you get a higher percentage return. But it doesn't make sense to purchase any of this at the moment because we really don't know what any of this is worth. And then loyalty rewards seem to be purchase this many of whatever this symbol to unlock the stunning snowboard bird outfit. Okay. Can I purchase this? Okay, so I think I get what happens here. It's not being explained very well. I think you only get loyalty points for purchasing things, possibly only with real world money. And then if you spend enough real world money, you'll eventually just end up being given some better looking dress up stuff. Some of which, like the Snowfall Wand, may actually be pay to win, as it were. And then at a certain level, if you're just putting money into purchasing more cards, it is pay to win no matter what. So let's do a little pay to win here. 100. We have a purchase limit of 1 to get a centaur. Let's purchase that. It gives us a centaur. For some reason, this says 4 of 1. So what does that mean? I don't know. We do have no idea what a rare random echo is, and so an echo crystal also probably doesn't make a lot of sense. We do have some of this currency. I guess you can spend this because this gold currency we're probably going to reveal very quickly. So we just purchased that not knowing what it is. I guess at a certain point though, I could have also been saving up to 30,000 to get this card. Doesn't seem like we'll have 30,000 anytime soon, unless somebody start to give us gold back. Let's see what this does. Advanced study, open to get 5 cards, probability 0 out of 20, guaranteed legendary cards in the 20 draws, 1.9.4 legendary, above 15% epic, draw rate is 15%, rare is 34%, common draw rate is 47%, so it does seem like you get some kind of card. You can see where the focus really is here, in that you have a lot of animations for opening things. But this is just showing me a blank page. So we've just gotten Orb of Water, which is apparently a legendary card. Okay.
Ventus.
We've got Ventus, I think we already had that. The Frayed Twins.
Aww.
That's new. Okay. I don't see any reason why you would go away from a legendary unless there's something. Unlimited chance to redraw this time. I think you just confirmed this. This looks like a pretty good draw. So that seemed to work. Let's do it again. This time, apparently, we might be opening 2 in a row. And by default, it is potentially this is potentially a case where it's going to always try to get you to use up as many keys as you have. Where very possibly you're going to get all the cards in the game and then have a stack of keys waiting for the next expansion. So this feels like Harry Potter is getting healed, but I'm not sure who this character is really supposed to be. The color on the skirt either means she would imply she's the artist girl, or it implies she might be the like secondary love interest potentially that was introduced later in the movies for Harry Potter, when Hermione really started to show herself as not really being a love interest. Inherently, that's, I think, where the story also kind of goes in the wrong direction. They introduce her as being a potential love interest, and then, or at least it felt like the movies were depicting her that way, when it really didn't fulfill that much. Bewitching snowballs. Augmenti. Crumpet. Bombastic Bomb Box. That's an epic. And then Nebulous has a different animation to it.
Incendio!
Here's Hermione, seems like. At a certain level, it kind of feels like Hermione may have been better suited to have been the protagonist of the Harry Potter the Harry Potter story anyways.
Incendio!
Okay. What does this do?
Incendio.
There's just like a whole story here, but you have to click and drag it, and you've got the animation
Incendio!
going on, just blocking it. So yeah, you're not really in a good position to read these paragraphs of text in the story if you actually care about Harry Potter backstory. And weirdly, it says can upgrade to level 7,
Incendio!
but it doesn't seem to me like any of this can be interacted with here on this screen. And we can't re-roll. Nope, we don't want to purchase gold keys. Apparently we don't have 2 silver keys. So that infinite reroll. Okay. I think what this is a opposite of a pity timer now that I look at this. So guaranteed card in 2 draws means you basically need 2 keys. You can't just click on one to open cards. And this number is just going to go up. So it's going to go more expensive. I open this and potentially next time it's going to take 3 keys to draw. Then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, all the way up to 20. Maybe guaranteed card in 20 draws leads to it resetting. But man, is that just the opposite of a pity timer. it's a screw you timer effectively on it. So it says like probability 0 out of 30 when really it should say 100%. I can only open 10 at a time at most on this. So let's see what the silver keys do. As far as I can tell, the silver keys don't do anything else. And see, here's Hermione, I think, yelling Ron Weasley, if I was to guess. At a certain level, I think maybe it would have made some sense even for Hermione and Ron Weasley to end up being romantically involved, and then you could have told the romance story. I kind of think J.K. Rowling just was not qualified to tell a romance story on top of an adventure story. And frankly, it really should have been more of a story around finding a family and finding good friends. But at least the Harry Potter movies, as far as I paid attention to them, it doesn't even really feel like Hermione and Ron are really that good of friends at the end of the movie series. They seem like they're alright friends, and then they get thrown into the Battle of Hogwarts and they have to fight alongside each other. But I wouldn't be surprised if it were a real world event that Hermione and Ron would have just never spoken to Harry Potter after that, or each other after that, just out of trauma of what they saw and had to fight during the Battle of Hogwarts. Here we have a repeated card that is an epic card, so you don't really need the golds to get high level cards. You just odds seem lower. Then we have Daniel Page.
Incendio!
Here's that same Incendio. You may have an issue certainly here in that it seems like the emphasis that I was feeling at the beginning of this game is going to be even further exaggerated, in that a lot of these spells are going to be depicted by Hermione. Although in this case, this may not even be Hermione, because look at the clothing. This is like more modern, regular clothing. We have no new rerolls. So yeah, let's look at this one and see if we can get some story here. I'm trying to use the mouse wheel to scroll down and it's not even working. When Ron Weasley was badly splintered in the process of escaping from the Ministry of Magic, Hermione Granger used essence of Wizardry to heal the wounds on his arm and shoulder. So this is Hermione, this is Ron. They were dressed up as adults. That explains the high heels and the dress, I think, pretending to be at the Ministry of Magic when they were not supposed to be there. They were using a charm to change their appearance. It may just be a case in the Harry Potter books that Hermione does so much more and casts so many spells that they are just staying within the lines of what really happened by depicting it visually like that. Hermione Granger used a Pugno jinx on Ron Weasley after seeing him being overly affectionate with their classmate Lavender Brown. Upset at his apparent indifference to her feelings, Hermione sent a flock of conjured canaries after Ron, the result of which was quite a few ruffled feathers. So this is interesting that she's dressed just casual clothing as she's being depicted, but yeah, almost every spell here is a Hermione spell, or it is just a generic creature. Like in this case, the character being mentioned here is, I think, Dolores Umbridge. Ran into them, these centaurs. Yeah, Harry Potter not really being the main character even in the backstory of this game.
Stupefy.
And again, Stupefy. Who's casting it? In the meeting of Dumbledore's army, Hermione Granger used the stunning spell to win a practice duel against Ron Weasley. Ron insisted he had let Hermione win, but his brothers were not convinced. Yeah. Honestly, if you were going to straight up make a sequel to Harry Potter and Hermione just went back in time, which she had an item that let her do that before, and eliminated Harry Potter from the timeline, she would totally have been the protagonist. Now, how would she eliminate him from the timeline? You could do the basic, just kill him as a child and help Voldemort succeed. That probably would lead to a bad ending. But you could have potentially saved him as a child and saved his parents as a child, and that would have been, and I may be wrong about this, I imagine Voldemort used the Forbidden Abracadabra spell on Harry Potter's parents. So if Hermione found a way to counter that spell and saved her parents, saved Harry Potter's parents at that time, then he probably would just have been not as important of a character. The only reason Harry Potter is an important character is he has a specially made protection spell, the lightning bolt on his forehead, which noticeably we have not seen the lightning bolt at all, that in some way protects him from Voldemort. And Voldemort uses apparently the same spell 3 times on Harry Potter trying to kill him, and it fails 3 times in a row, which just shows how dumb Voldemort is. Okay. Money, 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 money. I'm talking more about Harry Potter than even I knew about Harry Potter. If this was 3,000, I would get it. It's only 10 to get to this, and there really isn't, I think, a justification to get this. And a rare wild card can replace a rare card when upgrading cards. Let's do one of these. So we got Echo of Dobby. Add 6 movement cards. Half of all movement cards will be apparitions. I have no idea what that even means. We haven't gotten that far in the game to figure it out. So we have a card primer here. It would be to look at the cards, but apparently I clicked on something else. Head to the Charms classroom.
Let's set these bubble blasts.
My mouse cursor stopped working.
No, let's do Filch's office. I like the way you think, brother.
Like, my mouse cursor just disappeared there. Alright. Companion cards unlocked, tap to learn more. Let's start with that. We're back into... We're back into the main game after being on that screen, which it really just makes no sense to be on that screen. if it was going to just be that easy to leave. Drag a companion card in your deck to use in combat. We've got 2 of them. And then we've got a bunch of cards. So, level 6 Orb of Water Legendary. I think the move probably is to use this instead of this. But let's click on Incendio first and see what we would update. Incendio is 4 damage times 35. I don't know how that really works. And total damage is 140 plus 8. If I upgrade this for 750 gold,
Incendio!
It is now 4 damage plus 38 and the 148. So the pluses there were the upgrade. Okay, do we get more of a character level? 7 damage times 43. Secondary 80. Let's just go ahead and do that. And then we'll just start upgrading things like crazy. Spellbook, upgrading cards increases your spellbook level, health, attack, exploration attribute. Which I feel like your exploration attribute in particular is going to just give you more resources the more you invest resources. So the only real hope here is that the cards that you are spending gold on give you more reward for being upgraded than saving your gold to purchase more cards. Which at a certain point, I bet you hit a maximum level and you can only go up to like level 9. You can't level up any higher. Like ideally you would want one of every card so you just know what they look like and know how they work. And that it would be an early goal, certainly. I'm gonna assume anything marked new will just stop being marked new when we're done. This is fairly obviously pay to win, though. Like, I don't see any way that you wouldn't win by just having more gold and spending more gold to upgrade cards faster, to win more duels, to get more gold. Eventually gold will stop being that useful, but then eventually you will start to pay for gems, and then you'll start to pay for jewels on top of that. And I think we can also see that their generosity has its limits in that they've given me a bunch of cards, which then creates the slight burden that you need to upgrade the cards. And so I've lost about 5,000 points on this. Nothing can be upgraded there. Deck incomplete autofill. What did I mean deck is incomplete? Looks complete to me. Autofill. Alright, confirm it. Oh, the echo was added. I didn't even see where You could do echoes. Hmm. Hmm. I'm right clicking, I'm left clicking. I don't see where there's a button here for an echo. So I don't know how I would change it. And then as far as new items, should have something slightly new. Although it doesn't really seem like it is. There is anything new here. But clearly, looking at all these filters, they plan on you seeing a lot of new stuff. Let's see. Yeah. Looks like a decent chunk of costume stuff. Which doesn't seem like you can buy this stuff. No. At least not here. Maybe you go down to the shop and buy them. Then info. We now have several different icons we can use too. We can see some match stats. Camera gets weird. Alright. I guess maybe if going back to the Dueling Club would give you the dueling screen. Let's talk to these guys.
You two look like
You
you're
need
up to
to
no
make
good. What's in
a
the
lot
box?
more progress faster. And now we're back to the extremely long delay. Wow, it doesn't seem like it's even going to go forward
What box?
until I click
I
on
don't
it.
see no box.
Well, it did, but it was just incredibly long. Like, that's got to be a bug.
Clearly, I mean the box right there.
Even if you were saying these lines of dialogue in, like, Chinese is not a particularly longer language than English is.
What? This ain't no box. It's a
Maybe
collection
they
of
made it
explosive accessories.
so the pause was
Dangerous
as long
delights.
as the longest language that it supports, which might be something like German or something. German's a fairly long language.
In other words, none of your business.
Now the Frey brothers have identical visuals, so keeping them apart is going to be impossible, but at least their face
sounds
and
like Fletch is
haircut
coming.
is very unique. And yeah, you have this problem, I think, in Harry Potter in general, in that all the
So
other
unless you and your
students
lockbox
that
want
are
attention,
antagonists
you may want to scram.
come off very aggressive and rough, and then our custom character here just has this sweet voice that I really wonder what it would have sounded like had I chosen the male character.
I got a better idea. Why don't you explain to Filch what you're doing with these? Later, loser.
It would have made a lot of sense if every main character did have a very distinctive looking face. Alright. So I guess I'm just supposed to inspect this.
What a pair of gits. Filch's in the prefect's bathroom cleaning up after Peeves. Again.
Who's Peeves? Who's Filch? And is everybody supposed to know the British insult
Now,
gits?
what are these things? I think Fisher called them a bombastic bomb box.
And remember, our custom character is supposed to be like Harry Potter. She really shouldn't know anything about magic and should just be learning it all now.
Oops, I don't want
And
to
yet,
for charms.
she seems to be far too eager to adapt and know all of this stuff very early.
Better take these with me. I'll turn them in after class.
Yeah. So you're losing some of that feeling of the awe and amazement. And that line, what a pair of gits, almost certainly the male character says that more aggressively. This might very well be another, hey, NetEase funded this, and so NetEase gave some feedback that they wanted the female voice actress to sound more childlike and more saccharine sweet. So I guess we're back to Charms class.
What are they doing here?
Remember, Ivy disappeared as a character, and we've kind of completely forgotten about her as a character. And then this guy is standing too still, so that's a little awkward looking. So it feels like we're gonna end up dueling these guys. And that seems like the only thing you can do, so why not just force the encounter? Or, let's interact with this. There we just found 1,000 gold. And see, that's exactly what I thought, is that this felt a lot like a Kingdom Hearts game where there's just going to be random chests and random items. And I guess none of them were available to be found until we got to this point. And I assume we'll just find more of these things everywhere. And it probably would benefit me somewhat to run around the castle corridor a little bit later, depending if I continue to even play this game. It is moving incredibly slow here.
You told us Filch was coming, but he was nowhere near, was he? That means you tricked us, and we don't like to be tricked, do we, brother?
It's like they've programmed one to have his hand always here, and one to have his hand here at all times, and otherwise have no animation at all. Teach the phrase a lesson. Ready. Try using bombastic bombs to pull a prank on them. Okay, so this is a prank duel 2-on-1 unfairly. Press 1, select the card, then left click to. You really want me to put it all the way back here?
Bombastic bomb!
Bombastic bombs can increase movement speed of summoned creatures, causing their attack to deal area of effect damage. Okay. Looks the bombs. The bombs can follow all sorts of nearby creatures, including spiders. Press 2 and select the card and left click to cast it. So it is a support card that will give bombs to your spider creatures. Now try and use bombastic bombs on other summonables to beat the phrase. Okay. Let's just do a legendary card and kill him instead. Interesting. Legendary card not good enough.
Bombastic bomb!
I'm still fairly confused as far as
Ventus!
like yeah, I'm confused what's really letting me play or not play there.
Those two are infuriating.
It
but
seems
these
like my
fantastic
wand
bomb
had
boxes
plenty
are
of
fun.
energy, magical power, but something was slowing me down. I couldn't just drag the cards like I want to. And look at the hand of my character here.
To think they're mine.
It looks like she's just got bloody knuckles. Like she's been punching a wall or something. Again, I think that's just perhaps skin tone issues. Being a big deal. Okay, deal with the Frey twins. It says press V. I think we already did that. So we click on that and we get a reward. Now we're doing portrait memories, I guess. But before we do that, and talk to this character, might be worth it to run around the edge of this room one more time. Make sure there's not anything else to find. Seems a little weird to come into the Charms class and not have class and then leave again. Argus Filch.
What is that you're hiding? A box of boomtastic bubble blasts?
Please, it's just a misunderstanding. These aren't mine.
Ah, I've heard that one before, haven't I? Now hand them over.
Run away, leave. Well, I guess they want you to run away here, although it seems like running away and leaving are the same thing. The game inherently doesn't want you to lose your cards, I guess. This is a weird loading screen, if you're going to see it that much. And look how our character is just magically floating there. What in the heck was that all about? That seems weirdly glitchy. Like, yes, I do buy into the idea that wizards and witches could potentially float, but they don't really show us any characters floating without their broomsticks.
What happened?
So Daniel is in his regular clothing here, so we haven't quite figured out what group he is in.
Let's just say I've run into some rather explosive troubles with the caretaker.
They probably should have just moved us directly into this cutscene. Why is she waving and facing backwards?
Filch? Yeah, he's got it in for me too. He's convinced I was pilfering potions ingredients from the storeroom, which I definitely was not.
Ah, such delightful drama. Stay
No
cool
lip
and
flap at all.
composed and all problems will be solved. A great wizard keeps their calm, even in the most dire of circumstances.
I guess
Oh?
in the
If
Harry
you've got any
Potter world,
suggestions, I'm listening.
there are limited spells you can cast on other people. Otherwise, the teachers could just cast an obey spell on the students, or a chastity spell on the students,
Very well.
so they don't
Allow me to
flirt
tell
with each
you about
other.
a duel that took place in the Ministry of Magic not so long ago.
Or pay attention spell just to make
I
them
didn't
learn.
witness it myself, of course.
At a certain
But
level,
my friends hung in
if
the
you had
Ministry
magic
say
and it could
was
do anything,
most epic.
why would you need to go to a school in the first place? There has to be limitations on your magic system to make it interesting. Let's take a look at your task tracker. Didn't they already introduce that to me? Listen to the portrait story. So I have a new prompt. I need a moment. So listening to a story is going to take you to another sequence. Which at a certain level, yeah, why not just make this whole game a linear collection of sequences instead of giving a false appearance of there being an open world gameplay element. So we're going to defeat Voldemort. It's a little early to do that, certainly, but not that early. We're playing as Dumbledore.
Orb of water.
And orb of water move. That moves when you do. Does my character even move? I forgot about that. Does it benefit? Pure Totem Locomotor summons practically indestructible stone statues. Baby Antipede Opal summons a baby dragon that breathes fire. So they clearly are giving us just like a massive collection of top tier cards here. I assume these are either clones of Voldemort or Dementors. Thunderstorm can cause the Thunderbolt to strike random opponents with lightning. You can see this is getting really crazy. Right. And so our spell's charging up, and there's cooldowns on the cards. There he tried to do the Abracadabra spell. But he's just like summoning more and more things, and it really just does get crazy. Like it just doesn't feel like you're... It really doesn't feel like you're having any way you can really have any strategy here at all. And it does just seem like the game is going to let us move forever. And these cards, I don't even know what these are. Like, so, I don't know why he has 100 of them, and I don't know what's going on. It seems like you can only have a certain maximum number of cards. On the field at a time, because remember this needs to be a mobile game too, and so as such you can only have so many things on the screen at one time. Even at that, though, that would have been really a nightmare scenario to play that on a mobile game. A mobile screen.
I heard that other than spells, Quidditch is also quite fun, but my personal favourite is potions.
Quidditch? Is that the sport where you get to ride a broomstick and fly around?
That's the one. You'll want to talk to Robin if you're interested. Heard she's recruiting flying buddies in the Great Hall.
Yeah, I think our character is just straight up either glitched or she has just become completely uninterested in walking in between cutscenes. So here's the lunchroom, aka the Great Hall. And here we have another player character. And then I'm seeing world chat, which honestly I would love to turn that off. So, what happens if we click that? Nothing. Shop. This. Social. Channel display. Quick chat settings. Key bindings. Suppose you could map these keys to a controller. Other. Auto skip viewed cutscenes. Skip pathfinding animation. Let's turn that off. Let's see what that looks like. Large text. Hey, let's turn that on. I will appreciate that. That doesn't do anything to turn off that world chat thing. See, go some more here. I think probably is a made-up character. Battle information for PvE. Simple, classic, custom. Let's see what that looks like. Well, that still doesn't really feel like that gets rid of this. Quick chat, emoji, social. Settings. You can get to settings from here, but social doesn't seem like anything can turn that off. So yeah, that does just feel like this is the game. When you get to these sequences, is that they're gonna try and use world chat as a way of pushing you further ahead towards playing new cards or continuing to play by trying to create social pressure. Now weirdly, all these cards are marked as new, but they really aren't new. We probably got some new copies of cards. We might as well just spend some more gold to upgrade. If anything, it weirdly feels like they've gone back and maybe changed some of my cards? No. They didn't change the deck and move cards around. Now, while there are a lot of games like this where you feed cards into other cards to upgrade cards, it very often doesn't really do anything for you. Like, makes them slightly more powerful, but it's also a blatantly obvious attempt at making the games last longer. And I can clearly see through that. Let's see. More info. Apparently we've unlocked maybe another one of these. There's 3 more of these that I guess maybe unlock. I guess they're fairly easy to unlock as a concept. Match stats. I mean, we really just haven't done any matches. Yeah, we're still very much in the tutorial mode of this game. Interesting. You have a way to move items around, which is probably not necessary. Okay. So, it's been another 2 hours. It's ridiculous to go any longer. This quick look, episode 2, is pretty much establishing at this point that this is not a series that will be described as a quick look. Instead, this is just going to be a full look at what the game actually is. That being said, I don't really have a lot of hope here. I have basically zero hope that the game would replace my card game, my collectible card game that I play every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during live streams. This is way too slow and it's way too varied. I can't just jump into a game and play a card game. I'm having to walk around. Maybe you'd eventually get to that point, but then you look at how many cards are in the deck and how many cards there are in total, and the numbers are just far too small. This feels like a completely different style game. It feels like it is, if anything, an RPG game that doesn't want to really have that much of an RPG story, or that much of an RPG open world, or that much of an RPG game mechanic system. So it feels lackluster in several different ways if it is supposed to be an RPG game, and it feels lackluster if it's supposed to be a card game, a CCG, or even a deck building game. Neither one of those concepts really apply to this. It just seems also incredibly slow. Yeah. I do like some aspects of the game though. I like the idea of being able to create your own custom character, although that seems not to really matter too much. I like the idea of not overly focusing on Harry Potter, but they've gone too far in the wrong direction. We should have heard Harry Potter mentioned a few more times, and there should be some cards specifically around Harry Potter as a character, instead of it being heavily focused around Hermione. Although I guess the real problem here is there needs to be more cards around Ron and some of the secondary characters in the Harry Potter books also. It's insane that we have not seen a single card that looks like it would be a Dumbledore spell, and yet we've seen 6 or 7 cards that are Hermione spells. That's crazy. But yeah, I like the Harry Potter concept of the flashing back and seeing those stories. They're gonna probably have to go into full detail at some point, though. We're not just gonna be able to have an encounter from one book and then jump to the next book. They're gonna need to take all the interesting encounters of all the books and tell them in a somewhat chronological order, and have a lot of dialogue and cutscene in between that. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because that helps me with YouTube. And if you want to support me even further, there's some links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.